Welcome back to our channel. Today we explore the remarkable life of Robert Mitchum, the reluctant star who became one of Hollywood's most iconic actors. Known for his magnetic screen presence, rugged charm, and unforgettable roles in film noir classics, Mitchum captivated audiences in the 1940s and 1950s. But behind the larger-than-life persona was a man shaped by adversity, rebellion, and resilience. From a tough childhood to a rise in Hollywood, against all odds, to career-defining performances and real-life controversies, his journey is as compelling as the characters he portrayed. Join us as we dive into the fascinating story of Robert Mitchum's life, career, and the tragic ending of this legendary actor. Childhood and family. Born Robert Charles Derman Mitchum on August 6, 1917, in the industrial city of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Mitchum's life was marked by hardship from the start. When he was just 2 years old, tragedy struck. His father, a railroad worker, lost his life in a devastating rail yard accident, leaving young Robert, his elder sister Annette, and his younger brother John under the care of their grieving mother. Life took a sharp turn for the family when she remarried an English naval officer, hoping to provide a stable home for her children. Yet stability seemed elusive for Robert. From an early age, his personality revealed a restless, rebellious streak. He was quick-witted and mischievous, often testing the boundaries of authority with pranks and fights. This defiant energy, while foreshadowing the rugged anti-heroes he would later embody on screen, made his childhood turbulent. At the age of 12, Robert was sent to live with his grandparents in Felton, Delaware. However, instead of finding discipline, he found trouble that eventually got him expelled from school. Not one to stay in one place for long, Robert soon moved to New York to live with his sister Juliet. But even this change in scenery failed to curb his restless spirit. At school, his behavior once again veered toward chaos, and he found himself expelled yet again. By this time, his rebellious nature had grown into full-blown defiance, and, feeling constrained by the norms of society, Robert made a dramatic decision. He ran away. His runaway years were not the romanticized wanderings of a dreamer, but a hard-knock education in survival. He became a drifter, hopping freight trains, and crisscrossing the country in search of odd jobs to make ends meet. From digging ditches to amateur boxing, he took on any work that came his way. Each job, each train ride, each town added layers to his rugged personality, a personality that audiences would one day recognize as uniquely Mitchum. Robert Mitchum's early years were far from glamorous, but this gritty upbringing became the foundation of his unique connection with audiences. His journey from hopping freight trains and working odd jobs to becoming a leading man in Hollywood resonated deeply with fans who saw him as a symbol of resilience. For many, Mitchum was the embodiment of perseverance, a man who transformed his struggles into strength. His rugged authenticity wasn't just acting, it was lived experience. As one fan famously wrote, "When Mitchum plays a drifter, it feels like he's lived it. He doesn't act the part, he is the part." His ability to channel his tough past into his characters made him relatable and inspiring, particularly to post-depression and post-war audiences who saw themselves in his on-screen struggles. But his rebellious escapades weren't without consequences. In 1932, while in Savannah, Georgia, Robert's luck ran out and he was arrested. Sentenced to a chain gang, a grueling form of punishment involving hard labor, he endured the harshest realities of life on the fringes of society. True to form, Mitchum's rebellious spirit wouldn't be contained, and he managed to escape, returning to the only life he knew, riding the rails and living by his wits. Early career and marriage. In 1936, Robert Mitchum experienced a significant turning point that would shape his journey into Hollywood. At just 19, he packed his bags and headed for Long Beach, California. Here, he found a home with his sister Julie, but what she gave him was more than just a roof over his head. She gave him an introduction to destiny. Julie introduced Robert to the Players Guild of Long Beach, a small but vibrant local drama group. It was there that Mitchum, with no formal training or grand ambitions yet, began his journey as a humble scenery mover and occasional bit player. Imagine him backstage, quietly observing the craft of acting, soaking it all in, unknowingly laying the groundwork for the legend he would become. By 1940, Mitchum's life took another dramatic turn. He married Dorothy, his childhood sweetheart, in what fans often describe as the ultimate storybook romance. Dorothy wasn't just his partner, she became his anchor, especially as he juggled the trials of early adulthood. When their first child, Jim, was born, Mitchum made the decision to step away from acting for stability. He took a job as a machinist at Lockheed Aircraft, a position that symbolized his commitment to providing for his family. But the weight of responsibility came with a cost. The grueling work and relentless pressure pushed him to his limits, culminating in an episode of temporary blindness brought on by extreme stress. It was a devastating blow, but it also forced Mitchum to reconsider his path. In 1942, the winds of fate shifted again, pulling Mitchum back toward the world of acting. He began picking up small roles in B-movies and war films, projects that were modest in scale but rich in opportunity. These roles didn't make headlines, but they caught the attention of those within the industry. Directors noted his natural charisma, that unpolished yet magnetic quality that made audiences lean in. One critic at the time described him as having a quiet intensity that was hard to ignore. Then, in 1944, came the moment that changed everything. Mitchum signed a 7-year contract with RKO Pictures, a major studio that was home to stars like Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. This wasn't just a career milestone. It was a declaration to Hollywood that a new star was rising. Fans today often reflect on this period with awe, marveling at how Mitchum transformed from an everyday working man into one of the most enigmatic figures in Hollywood history. Social media forums and fan blogs frequently cite this chapter of his life as proof that persistence and resilience can lead to greatness. Even the press of the time started to take notice. Headlines began to read, "From machinist to movie star," and Robert Mitchum, the reluctant hero of Hollywood. The media marveled at his everyman appeal, contrasting it with the glitz and glamour typically associated with Tinseltown. Fans resonated deeply with his story, seeing a piece of themselves in his struggles and triumphs. Many wrote letters to the studio, urging RKO to cast him in bigger roles. Rise to stardom. Robert Mitchum's career-defining moment came in 1945 with his role in the story of G.I. Joe. This was not just another war film. It was a deeply human story that resonated with audiences still reeling from the effects of World War II. Mitchum's portrayal of a weary, everyday soldier brought authenticity and emotion to the screen, a performance so impactful that it earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. For a rising star to receive such recognition was monumental, cementing Mitchum as a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood. Fans were captivated by his ability to embody the grit and vulnerability of a soldier's life, and critics hailed his naturalistic acting style as a breath of fresh air. As Mitchum transitioned into the late 1940s, he became a standout figure in the emerging film noir genre. Titles like The Locket and Crossfire highlighted his ability to portray morally complex characters, but it was Out of the Past that sealed his status as a noir legend. His role as Jeff Bailey, a private investigator caught in a tangled web of betrayal and love, was a masterclass in subtle, understated acting. Audiences were drawn to his brooding charm, while critics praised his ability to balance toughness with a sense of world-weary vulnerability. Film lovers flooded theaters, and the press dubbed Mitchum Hollywood's Man of Mystery, a label that only added to his allure. However, Mitchum's off-screen life often rivaled the drama of his movies. In 1948, a scandal rocked his career when he was arrested for marijuana possession. The 1948 marijuana scandal could have been the downfall of Robert Mitchum, but instead, it solidified his status as Hollywood's ultimate bad boy. Arrested and sentenced to a week in jail and over a month on a prison farm, Mitchum faced a media frenzy. Headlines screamed about the fallen star, but instead of shying away, Mitchum met the scandal with an unbothered, almost defiant attitude. His calm, collected, and unapologetic response struck a chord with fans who admired his authenticity and refusal to conform to Hollywood's polished image. The press, too, played a role in mythologizing Mitchum, dubbing him Hollywood's rebel. One newspaper famously wrote, "Robert Mitchum remains unshaken, just like the roles he plays," a sentiment echoed by fans who flooded studios with letters of support. For many, the scandal didn't tarnish his image. It made him more relatable, more human, and, ironically, more of a star. In a time when public missteps often spelled disaster, Mitchum's ability to turn controversy into charisma became a defining part of his mystique. At a time when such incidents could easily destroy an actor's reputation, Mitchum's career not only survived, but thrived. The public's reaction was surprisingly mixed. Some were shocked, while others found his rebellious image fascinating. Fan letters poured in, with many defending him as a symbol of defiance against societal norms. The media, always eager for a scandal, turned Mitchum into a tabloid sensation. Yet Mitchum himself seemed unfazed, responding with his signature cool demeanor, a trait that only bolstered his image as Hollywood's ultimate bad boy. Despite the controversy, Mitchum's career soared in the 1950s. He starred alongside some of Hollywood's most iconic actresses, including Marilyn Monroe in River of No Return. The chemistry between Mitchum and Monroe was electric, and the film became a box office smash, solidifying his status as a leading man. But it was in Night of the Hunter, 1955, where Mitchum delivered what many consider his greatest performance. Playing Harry Powell, a sinister preacher with love and hate tattooed on his knuckles, Mitchum was both terrifying and magnetic. Although the film initially received mixed reviews, fans were mesmerized by his chilling portrayal. Over time, Night of the Hunter was reevaluated and celebrated as a masterpiece, with Mitchum's performance hailed as one of the most unforgettable in cinema history. Media outlets soon began to focus on Mitchum's dual identity as both a box office star and a cultural enigma. Articles celebrated his ability to bring depth to his characters, with one critic famously stating, "Mitchum doesn't act, he exists on screen." Fans echoed this sentiment, with many flocking to theaters just to see his effortless charisma. His cool, detached persona became a blueprint for anti-heroes in Hollywood, inspiring generations of actors to come. By the mid-1950s, Mitchum wasn't just a star, he was a phenomenon. His rebellious nature, combined with his undeniable talent, created a mystique that left both fans and the media spellbound. Whether they loved him for his rugged charm, his magnetic performances, or his unapologetic approach to life, one thing was clear: Robert Mitchum was unlike anyone Hollywood had ever seen. Fans adored him not just as an actor, but as a symbol of resilience and individuality, making him one of the most enduring icons of his era. Scandal and controversy. Robert Mitchum's career was a testament to his enduring talent, evolving charisma, and ability to adapt to the ever-changing entertainment industry. By the 1960s, Mitchum had already established himself as a cinematic legend, yet he continued to deliver performances that would further solidify his place in Hollywood history. His role in Cape Fear, 1962, remains one of his most chilling and unforgettable. As Max Cady, a vengeful ex-convict terrorizing a family, Mitchum brought an unsettling mix of menace and charm, creating a villain so terrifying that audiences were left on edge long after the credits rolled. The intensity of his performance in this psychological thriller set a new standard for screen antagonists and demonstrated his ability to push boundaries. In 1970, Mitchum surprised fans with his nuanced portrayal of a mild-mannered schoolteacher in David Lean's Ryan's Daughter. This was a stark departure from the rugged anti-heroes he was known for, showcasing his versatility as an actor. Critics praised his understated performance, and fans appreciated the quiet strength he brought to the role, proving that Mitchum could excel in subtle, emotionally driven narratives. Just 3 years later, in The Friends of Eddie Coyle, 1973, Mitchum delivered what many consider one of his finest performances. Playing an aging small-time criminal caught in a web of betrayal, he infused the character with a weary realism, capturing the desperation and moral ambiguity of a man on the fringes of society. This film cemented his reputation as an actor capable of bringing authenticity and depth to complex, morally gray characters. As the entertainment landscape shifted in the 1980s, so did Mitchum's career. Recognizing the growing influence of television, he made a successful transition to the small screen with The Winds of War, 1983, a sprawling miniseries that captivated audiences worldwide. His portrayal of Victor Pug Henry, a stoic naval officer navigating the complexities of war and family, resonated deeply with viewers, earning him widespread acclaim. The series became one of the most watched programs in television history, solidifying Mitchum's relevance in an industry increasingly dominated by TV. He reprised his role 5 years later in War and Remembrance, 1888, continuing to command the screen with his signature gravitas. Mitchum's contributions to the film and television industry did not go unnoticed. In 1991, the National Board of Review honored him with a Lifetime Achievement Award, celebrating his decades-long career and indelible impact on Hollywood. A year later, he received the prestigious Cecil B. DeMille Award from the Golden Globes, further recognizing his unparalleled talent and influence. These accolades were not just testaments to his body of work, but also to the legacy career and accomplishments. Robert Mitchum's career was a remarkable journey of reinvention, resilience, and undeniable talent, spanning over 5 decades and leaving a legacy that continues to inspire generations. By the 1960s, Mitchum was already a household name, yet he refused to rest on his laurels, delivering some of the most memorable performances of his career. His role in Cape Fear, 1962, as Max Cady remains one of the most bone-chilling portrayals in cinematic history. Mitchum brought a magnetic intensity to the vengeful ex-convict, making Cady a villain who was both terrifying and oddly charismatic. Audiences were glued to their seats, and critics hailed his performance as a masterclass in creating tension. Moviegoers left theaters talking about the sheer fear Mitchum evoked, and his name became synonymous with psychological thrillers. As Mitchum ventured into the 1970s, he took on more layered and introspective roles, proving his versatility as an actor. In Ryan's Daughter, 1970, directed by the legendary David Lean, Mitchum surprised audiences by stepping away from his tough guy persona to play Charles Shaughnessy, a soft-spoken and emotionally restrained schoolteacher. Fans were amazed by this transformation, with many praising his ability to convey so much with subtle gestures and expressions. The film's sweeping cinematography and Mitchum's grounded performance captivated audiences worldwide, and media outlets lauded his ability to reinvent himself while remaining true to his craft. Then came The Friends of Eddie Coyle, 1973, a gritty, character-driven film that showcased Mitchum at his absolute best. As Eddie, a weary small-time criminal struggling to navigate a morally ambiguous world, Mitchum delivered a performance that felt heartbreakingly real. Fans and critics alike were struck by his portrayal of a man grappling with desperation and betrayal, a role that highlighted the emotional depth Mitchum could bring to even the bleakest stories. Movie reviews praised his ability to make audiences empathize with a flawed character, and fan letters poured in, commending Mitchum for making Eddie feel so authentic. The 1980s marked a bold new chapter for Mitchum as he transitioned to television, a move many film stars of his era hesitated to make. Yet Mitchum embraced the challenge and delivered a tour de force performance in The Winds of War, 1983. Playing Victor Pug Henry, a steadfast naval officer navigating the turmoil of World War II, Mitchum brought his signature gravitas to the small screen. The series was a massive success, becoming one of the most watched TV events in history, with millions of viewers tuning in each week. Fans across the globe were enthralled by Mitchum's commanding presence, and social media, even in its early forms, buzzed with praise for his portrayal. Critics celebrated his ability to carry such a massive production with grace and authenticity. Mitchum reprised his role in War and Remembrance, 1988, solidifying his status as a television powerhouse. Though the series faced stiff competition in an increasingly crowded entertainment landscape, Mitchum's performance remained a highlight, with fans continuing to express their admiration. Television networks highlighted Mitchum in promotional campaigns, labeling him as a living legend, and interviews with Mitchum drew massive audiences, eager to hear from the man who had redefined stardom across mediums. The accolades soon followed, cementing Mitchum's contributions to both film and television. In 1991, he received the National Board of Review's Lifetime Achievement Award, a moment that fans celebrated as overdue recognition for his unparalleled career. A year later, he was honored with the Cecil B. DeMille Award at the Golden Globes, a fitting tribute to a man whose influence spanned generations. Fans flooded the Golden Globes' official channels with congratulatory messages, expressing their love for Mitchum's work and sharing personal stories of how his performances had impacted their lives. Throughout his career, Mitchum's fan base remained fiercely loyal, with audiences and the media often describing him as a timeless star. Social media fan pages, interviews, and retrospectives continued to keep his legacy alive long after his passing. From iconic movie posters to viral clips of his most memorable lines, Mitchum's influence transcended his time, proving that his ability to captivate audiences wasn't just a product of the era, it was a reflection of his unique brilliance. Sartre, Death and Legacy. July 1st, 1997 marked the end of an era in Hollywood. On this day, Robert Mitchum, the man whose deep, gravelly voice and enigmatic screen presence captivated audiences for decades, passed away in California at the age of 79. The cause was lung cancer and emphysema, an ending made poignant by his lifelong image as a rugged, hard-living star. But Mitchum's passing wasn't just the loss of an actor, it was the farewell to a legend who defined what it meant to be cool in Hollywood's golden age. Mitchum was an actor who could do it all. From film noir classics like Out of the Past to westerns, war epics, and even musicals, he brought an authenticity to every role he played. Critics often marveled at how effortlessly he disappeared into his characters, whether he was playing a dangerous, smooth-talking villain or a weary, reluctant hero. Even in his later years, Mitchum's performances had a depth and magnetism that few could rival. News of his death sent waves of grief throughout the entertainment world. Tributes poured in from fans, fellow actors, and directors who had the privilege of working with him. When Robert Mitchum passed away in 1997, it wasn't just the loss of a Hollywood legend. It marked the end of an era. Tributes poured in from every corner of the industry. Clint Eastwood described him as the man who defined cool, praising his effortless charisma and raw talent. Quentin Tarantino, a longtime admirer, called Mitchum's performances a masterclass in subtlety and restraint, crediting his influence on a generation of anti-heroes in modern cinema. Even stars like Ryan Gosling have openly cited Mitchum's understated style as a blueprint for their own approach to acting. On social media, film noir fan pages frequently honor his work, sharing iconic clips and behind-the-scenes stories that highlight his unmatched screen presence. A popular tweet once read, "Robert Mitchum didn't just play characters, he redefined what it meant to be a star. His influence extends beyond the screen, inspiring everything from fashion to modern portrayals of morally complex characters." As one critic wrote, Mitchum wasn't just a relic of Hollywood's golden age, he was the heartbeat of it, and his legacy will forever pulse through its veins. "There was no one like Robert Mitchum," one director remarked, describing him as a one-take wonder whose instinctual talent was unmatched. Actors like Clint Eastwood and Jack Nicholson, who often cited Mitchum as a major influence, publicly expressed their sorrow and admiration. Eastwood once said, "He was the epitome of cool before cool even had a name." Mitchum's fans also took to newspapers and radio programs to share their memories. For generations, he was more than just an actor. He was a cultural icon. "He was the reason I fell in love with film noir," one lifelong admirer shared. Another wrote, "There was something about him so raw, so real. He wasn't just a star, he was human." Despite his tough guy persona, Mitchum's personal life was marked by simplicity and dedication. He was a family man, married to his beloved Dorothy for 57 years. Together, they raised 3 children, and by all accounts, Mitchum was as devoted to his family as he was to his craft. This side of him, a private, grounded man, was rarely highlighted in the media, making it all the more meaningful to those who knew him best. In the days following his death, retrospectives of Mitchum's career dominated television and print media. Clips from his most iconic films played on networks around the world, reminding audiences of the enduring power of his performances. The haunting image of him as Reverend Harry Powell in The Night of the Hunter, with love and hate tattooed across his knuckles, became a visual shorthand for his brilliance. Even decades after its release, critics were still unpacking the layers of his performance in that film, calling it one of the greatest portrayals of evil in cinematic history. And yet Mitchum was so much more than his roles. He was a symbol of Hollywood's golden age, a time when stars weren't just performers, but larger-than-life figures who left an indelible mark on pop culture. To this day, filmmakers and actors continue to draw inspiration from his career. As we remember Robert Mitchum, we're reminded of his unparalleled legacy. He was an actor who made us believe in every character he played, a man who balanced charisma with vulnerability and strength with subtlety. Mitchum's story goes beyond his films. He shaped Hollywood, leaving a legacy that inspires audiences even today. And that brings us to the end of Robert Mitchum's extraordinary story. From a troubled childhood to becoming a Hollywood legend, Mitchum's life was filled with challenges, triumphs, and unforgettable moments on and off the screen. His undeniable talent and anti-hero persona left an indelible mark on the film industry, making him a star whose legacy continues to inspire. Thank you for joining.